Hello everyone and welcome to Network Playroom. In this video, we'll take a look at the CCIE Enterprise Infrastructure Host VM and go over some basic Linux commands. Let's get started. Now let's actually start with the CCIE Host VM. As you can see, I already have the virtual lab environment installed and I have the VM running. We'll still take a look at some of the details before we jump into the Linux commands. So this is actually really cool. You can download the actual VM that will be used in the CCIE Enterprise Infrastructure Lab exam. The VM has been made publicly available for candidates to get acquainted with. And there have also been a series of CCIE Enterprise Infrastructure preparation webinars where you can find out more information about this and get some other useful tips related to the certification. I'll leave links in the description, but let's look at those resources briefly. So let me open my Firefox browser here. So first we have the CCIE Enterprise Infrastructure Host VM page here. So you can download the host VM files from here. If we scroll down a little bit, you can see these 3 files in here with the link to each one. So if you click on the link, it'll start downloading those files. You will need these files to install the host VM. Now I also mentioned the CCIE webinars, and they are available in this other page here. Right here, CCIE Enterprise Infrastructure training videos. So if we scroll down a little bit, we can see a list of categories and we can expand them to find the individual webinars right here. We're not going to cover in these videos, so if you're interested, you can come back to these on your own. All right, let's go back to the host VM page. So after you've downloaded these 3 files, you also need VirtualBox where you can import the VM. In case you don't have it, you can go to this page, virtualbox.org, to download the tool. You click on this icon right here, and it'll show you the available packages for different platforms. Now, I don't know if this VM will work with other OS virtualization software like VM Player. VirtualBox is used in the CCIE preparation videos, and I wanted my environment to be as close to that as possible. That's why I'm using VirtualBox as well. So let's go back to VirtualBox. So once you have the files downloaded and VirtualBox installed, you can simply import the VM. That's really how easy it should be. Once you've done that, the VM should show up on the left-hand side here and you can run it. I've already done that, so I don't have an option to run the VM again since it's already turned on. So I won't be able to show you how to import the VM or how to run it, but it should be self-explanatory and you should be able to do it. As you can see, I haven't changed anything about the host VM. It's still using the original name and everything. I'll admit that I had a little mishap when I imported the VM the first time. I had copied and moved the files around and it didn't work. I received an error, something about the hash or checksum that it didn't match. So don't do that. Just download the files and import them and you should be good to go. So basically don't change anything, don't touch anything, just simply import it exactly how and where you downloaded it and you should be good to go. Okay, so let's finally go into the VM and start looking at basic Linux commands. So I have it open here. And this is actually a good time to let it be known that I am in no way a Linux expert. I have used Linux throughout my career, mostly at a basic level using the commands that I'm going to demonstrate shortly. So you will not see any advanced, secret, or hidden Linux commands that only Linux gurus know, and I will also not explain all the nitty-gritty details and options for the basic commands. So this is very much a beginner or introduction level video. With that said, let's go. Let's open the terminal. We can do it from here by double-clicking it. Let me maximize the window as well. So the first command we'll use is pwd, which allows you to see the absolute full path of the current working directory. So if we try that, pwd, you can see that we are currently in the home/Cisco directory. Now I believe that pwd is short for print working directory, but don't quote me on that. If it's not, that's at least a good memory rule to remember it. By the way, the structure of that path should be familiar to you. So each directory is separated by a /. Now moving on to the next command, let's take a look at the ls command. Now the ls command is used to view the contents of a directory. So let's try it. Now by default, this command will display the contents of your current working directory, as we have seen right here, running the command in this directory. If you want to see the contents of other directories, you can type ls and then the directory's path. So we could do something like ls home, Cisco, and documents, for example. There's not going to be anything in this folder right now, I don't think, so it's not going to show us anything. But the point is that you can also use a full path with this command. Now you can also use options with the ls command. For example, ls-l will list the contents with detailed information like permission, size, date, and time. So let's try that. ls-l, like so. Now ls-a will show you everything in the directory, including hidden files. So let's try that as well. ls-a. Now you can see all these other files and folders that weren't visible before. So before, when we ran the command right here, you could only see these files and folders, but now we have way more information with the A option. You can even use these options together. So if you use ls-al, you will list all the files and directories, including the hidden ones, with detailed information. So let's try that. ls-al. Let me scroll up a little bit so we can see the entire command output. So this is a great time to introduce another useful command called clear, which is pretty self-explanatory. It'll remove the existing command output and give us a blank terminal. So let's do that. Clear. Now to navigate through the Linux directories or change directories, you can use the cd command. You need to specify either the full path or the name of the directory depending on the current working directory that you're in. So let's try that. Let's actually do ls again first so we can see what directories are available. So now if we want to go to a subdirectory, we use cd and then let's say documents. Now we're in the documents folder and we can verify this by running the pwd command again. You can see the full path. If you want to go to a completely new directory, you need to specify the full path. So let's go to another directory, desktop for example. So we'll do cd home, Cisco, and desktop. It already tells us that we're in the desktop directory, but let's verify that again anyway. pwd, and you see the full path again. Now there are some options with this command. For example, cd with 2 dots moves up one directory. So let's try that. So cd ... it's gonna go back to the home/Cisco directory. Now cd alone without any path or options goes straight to the home folder. So if we do that, it's not actually going to change anything because we're already in the home folder. So let me just show you that real quick by going back to another directory and then coming back, like so. Okay, let's change to the documents directory again and start looking at other Linux commands. So cd documents. Now the touch command allows you to create a new blank file through the Linux command line, and you can create different file types. In fact, let's create two different ones, and we can actually do them on the same line, like this. Touch, let's say hello.txt, and we'll say web.html. So now if we do ls again, you can see that those files were created. Now these files are empty, there's nothing in them, and we'll add some text in them or one of them later on. But first, let's look at some other commands. So you can use the cp command to copy files through the command line. For example, we can do cp hello.txt, which is the file we just created, and then name it something else like hello copy.txt. So it's going to copy the file hello.txt and create a new file called hello copy.txt. Like so. So if we do ls again, we can see that there are those two files, hello copy and hello txt. Next, let's discuss the mv command. So the primary use of the mv command is to move files, but it can also be used to rename files. So let's try that. Let's rename the hello copy file to hello mv file so we can identify that we use the mv command. So we can do mv hello copy.txt and then rename it to hello mv.txt. So let's try list again, and you can see the hello copy is now named hello mv. Next, you can use the mkdir command to make a new directory. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but it's spelled mkdir. Like this, mkdir, make directory. So we'll call it rubbish. We'll put some random files there later on and delete it. So let's use ls again to see that this new directory has now been created right here, rubbish. Now let's actually use the mv command again to move the file, which we previously renamed with the same command, to a new location. Actually, let's also rename the file simultaneously, since this command can perform both functions. So we'll put that file in the rubbish folder, which we also just created. So we can do mv hello mv.txt, and we'll put it to home Cisco documents rubbish, and then rename it to hello and let's say new directory. Okay, so let's list the contents of this directory. So you can see that hello mv is gone now. There's only the other file hello txt. So now if we change to the rubbish folder or directory and then list the contents, you can see that the file is here now. Next, if you want to delete a file, you can use the rm command or remove command. So we can do rm hello dir.txt. And now that file is gone. You see that this folder is empty. I keep saying folder, although the technically accurate term is directory, but you understand what I'm talking about. I'm essentially referring to the same thing. Now let me actually create another file in this directory because I want to demonstrate what happens if you have any content in a directory and you want to remove it. So let's first do touch, and we'll say junk.txt. So now you see that there's this new text file. So now let's move up to the documents folder. So we'll do cd ... and let's list the contents again. So if you need to delete a directory, you can use the rmdir command. However, that command only allows you to delete empty directories. So if we try to delete the rubbish directory, where I just created that new file, it will not work. So let's test that. rmdir, so remove directory, rubbish. You can see we get this error. Failed to remove rubbish, directory not empty. Now you can actually use the rm command, which we use to delete a file, to delete a directory as well, which contains files, but you need to use the R option. So the rm command can also remove directories, but you need to use the R option. So let's try that. rm -r and rubbish. Now before I hit enter, be very careful with this command and double check which directory you are in. Because this command will delete everything and there is no undo. You will not be able to recover files or subdirectories after applying this command. So make sure you're deleting the right directory when you apply this command because there's no coming back. Okay, so let's hit enter. And let's do ls again. So now you can see that the entire directory is gone. We only have the hello.txt and web.html files in this directory. All right, let's clear the command line again. So next, let's look at Nano. Nano is one of the text editors already installed in the Linux command line. So let's add some text to our original hello.txt file. So we'll do nano hello.txt. And you can see this is an empty file. There's nothing in here yet. No text, just a blank page. So we'll write something legendary like hello world. And then we can do Ctrl-O to write out. So it's going to write this text to the file. It's asking for the file name, hello.txt. You could click enter. And then we can do Ctrl-X to exit. So now the cat command, which is short for concatenate, is one of the most frequently used commands in Linux. It is used to list the contents of a file on the command line. Now, if we want to see the contents of the hello.txt file we just edited, we can do cat hello.txt. And ta-da, we get that beautiful message we wrote, hello world. Let's actually edit that file again. So we'll do nano hello.txt. We'll add another line of text here. There's something famous like carpe diem, a saying from Latin. Okay, so now if we do exit directly, so Ctrl-X, it's going to ask save modified buffer. We can do yes. And then file name to write to, hello.txt. Yes, hit enter. Let's go. And we'll do cat hello.txt again. So we have those two beautiful lines there. Hello world and carpe diem. Now before we end the video, let's briefly look at common network-related commands. The same commands that you are probably familiar with from other operating systems are also available on Linux, although possibly with slightly different syntax. Now to view the IP address information, or NIC information, you can run the IPA command. So this command is more or less equivalent to the ifconfig command on Windows. It'll show you a list of network adapters and display information like the local IP address and the subnet mask. Although the subnet mask is written as a /24 in this case, so it's not 255.255.255.0. Now I'm actually used to using the ifconfig command on Linux, like this, ifconfig, but it is not available on this command line. And the reason is, it turns out that that command is slightly outdated. If we look at these posts that I have open here, the ifconfig command has been deprecated and thus missing by default on Debian Linux. And the VM is running Debian Linux, which is why this command is not available by default. So the better option is to use these IP commands like IPA and so on. If you do want to use the ifconfig command, you can install the NetTools package and that command should be available. Here's another post explaining the same thing. So ifconfig is now IPA, and then you can also try these different options. Okay, let's go back to the virtual machine. Now then, of course, you have the basic tools for testing and verifying IP connectivity, the ping and traceroute commands. So you specify a host you want to reach with these commands and then see if you reach it. So the ping command is like saying hello and waiting to hear a hello back from the destination. And if you do get a reply, then you know that they are there and you can reach them. Now the traceroute command provides path information on how to reach that destination. So let's look at both of those commands quickly. So let's ping Google address, for example, the quad 8 address, ping 8.8.8.8, and you can see we get the replies. And on Linux, this doesn't have a default number of packets it's going to send, so it'll just keep going until we stop it. And we can break it by using the Ctrl+C combination, like so. So now if we try the traceroute with the same address, let's see what happens. So you can see the path that the packet took to travel to the destination. This output is showing you all those hops that the packet traversed to get to the Google address. Alright, let's conclude the video here. Hopefully you enjoyed this brief introduction to the CCIE Host VM and basic Linux commands. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.